ear stitch is so named because when stacked vertically, these stitches resemble a little stalk of wheat. Here are some little wheat ear stitches in a horizontal row, and you may notice that this stitch looks very similar to tête de boeuf, and in fact these two stitches are almost identical, but wheat ear stitch is constructed differently. So let's look at how wheat ear stitch is made. Now I'm going to do this with a stab stitch motion first because I think it's easier to see. So I'll start by making the little ears. I'll bring my needle and thread up and then form a V. So I always do the left ear first and then the right ear, and then go back in at the bottom of the V. Then decide how big you want this part of the stitch to be and come up at that point below the V. Now pass the needle and thread underneath that V without piercing the ground fabric. Now it does not matter whether you pass it from right to left or left to right. And go back in at this point where your thread just came out and pull through. Now to make the next wheat ear stitch, I'll come back up to form the next set of ears, go back in at that same point, come up here and back in at this same point. Now I'll come up here a little bit below and pass my needle and thread behind the V and the tip of that previous wheat ear stitch, again without piercing the ground fabric. Pull through, but you don't want to pull through too tightly, otherwise you would lose the effect of the wheat ear stitch. So there are two wheat ear stitches worked with a stab stitch motion. Now let's do wheat ear stitch with a sewing motion. So for this stitch, I'm going to work with my right hand because I'm right-handed. So I'll come up here in that same place, come back up to form the next ear, go in at the point, come back up here, then go behind the V, either from right to left or left to right. Come in here at the bottom of that stitch, and now before I pull through, I'll get set up for the next pair of ears. I'll go in here, come up here, and now you're making the V. Come in here, and then bring your needle and thread out to start the next wheat ear stitch. Pass it behind there, and go back in here. So those are two ways that you can work the wheat ear stitch. Now, I think wheat ear stitch is a very pleasant stitch, and it curves easily. So here I have used wheat ear stitch. This is a fish, so I didn't want to make wheat here in the ocean. Instead, I've used wheat ear stitch to make seaweed. And as you can see, wheat ear stitch curves easily, so I think it's a nice stitch for organic shapes like this. So I hope that you'll like making wheat ear stitch.